for that was, just being a former player, understanding how to get, your mind back into the rhythm of things. And, I'm pretty pleased. We are really pleased where he's at right now. If you guys were here for the game, the practice with the fans last week, it was great to see him get out there in that first drive and see that burst and that physicality in that first run. You know what I mean? That's a big deal for him. Hasn't been in that situation in almost 8 months. You know what I mean? For him to get out there and show that run was, I'm sure, a confidence booster for him. And it's kind of carried over into the week. You know what I mean? So he's continuing to get his feel and his rhythm back. I think right now we're at the next stage of just finishing his runs and getting his pad level down and all those things. But he's really progressing. This is the best I've seen him thus far since I've been here. I think his focus, his physicality and protection, the way he's running the football, his burst through the hole, this is the best I've seen him. He's clearly determined and he's ready to play.
Dave and Ramir, what is the process of coming back from a serious injury, not just physically, but from a mental perspective and regaining kind of that trust in your body?
It's kind of a big brother role for me in that sense, where I need to continue to remind them that failure is okay right now from a physical perspective. Like maybe your paddle, your hips aren't down, and I don't want guys going to the tank like, oh man, I should have had an elite day. Well, hey, I had to remind Gabe, hey, this is practice 4 for you since October or whatever it was. So that's a big deal to continue to remind them, hey, because I need their confidence at a high level. You know what I mean? And those guys are very competitive. So when you do make a move or have a lack of burst, I don't want their mind going, oh man, I'm not back yet. No, you are back yet, but this is a natural progression, like you just said. Like it's going to take a couple reps here. It's not going to be practice 2. It's going to be maybe practice 10. So yeah, I'm pretty. That's what we've been dealing with those guys.
You're talking about a guy like Ramir, I guess Gabe also. Where do you see the maturity really pay off? Where do you see the benefit?
I was fortunate enough to be assistant running back coach in Carolina and got a chance to work with McCaffrey and Coach McCaffrey a lot. So the best in the world, in my opinion. So the maturity of the group, I'd say, especially the guys that have been with me, we're at the point now where I think last year as a staff and as an offense, I was and Coach Rule, myself, and Coach Satt, we were trying to establish the way we run the ball, our DNA of running the ball. They had to learn that last year. I think the maturity, to answer your question, point now is now we've kind of shift gears. They know the standard of how we run the ball. They've understand the run schemes. They understand where their eyes need to be. Now it's about the details and focusing and harping on the second level reads, making guys miss in open space. How do we cut properly? Your first year, you don't have that much time to focus. You got to get the base down, and I think that's what we did last year with the group. And this year, you can tell by just by Emmett and Ramir, especially if you guys watch those guys practice, how they're focusing on making guys miss at the second level. It's key for us.
How has Emmett Johnson grown as a pass protector?
He's grown a lot. I think last year was a really good understanding part, mental part, learning. Like I said, his first play last year was a big protection. So the learning part, was one thing. Now we're at the physical part. So now really harping on him that, we have to be 100% in every single rep during practice. That's key, right? So I think, with him as a young player last spring and last season, it was like make sure we get our eyes in the correct spot pre-snap. We got the right guy on post-snap. Now it's more so technique focus. The standard for you is you know the protections. Now it's a matter of making sure you're sound on your technique, and that's where he's really focused on right now is hand placement, body placement, leverage, those type of things.
Is there obviously somebody's got to take the first carry or be out there on the first snap of the season? Are you really looking at like a top 3 versus a top 1, or could there be a separation between 1, 2, and 3?
I think that my objective right now as the running back coach right now is to make sure we have 3 guys that can go win the game for us. And I think that's exactly what we're doing right now. We're going to have 3 to 4 guys that can go play and win the game for us. That's where we need to be. Let me rephrase that we can win the game with, if that makes sense. And I think that's what we got. right now. I think that's where we're working towards. We're really trying to push the tail end of the room with Quentin and Dante, and really raise those guys. And they've answered. Dante especially, he's really shown a lot of positive things this camp thus far. So to answer your question, I think it's about getting to Game 6. What does that room look like, right? And right now, making sure the first half of the season we have a solid 1, 2, and 3.
What has Dante done to make that move?
I think when he first got here, he was kind of more so as a closer to a high school type running back, where he wasn't really using his eyes and was trying to use power for everything. He's really now is starting to understand tempo pre-snap. He's understanding reads. So he's really become from a short yardage, powerful kid to now transitioning to a guy we can put on every downs. And that comes with repetition and experience, and that's what he's getting right now. He's had a really good camp.
What about the top 3? What are the qualities you're looking for to say, okay, I'm cementing myself in this line as a guy that can be a guy?
Well, I think you're looking for 3 characteristics. You're looking for big playability, right? And I think you're looking for a guy that can pound the football, right, in 4 yards in a cloud of dust. And then the third part of that would be protection, right? So whether that's one person or that's 3 different people, that's kind of what you need in that room for that 1, 2, and 3. Does that make sense? So I mean, every team in football nowadays usually has 1 to 2 guys. Most average probably have 3. So that's kind of where we're at, and we'll see who that person is, right? We want to make sure that whoever that is, whether it's 1 person or it's 3 guys, that all those elements are covered.
So your order, I mean, I'm not asking you to give an order of your top 3, but is it Emmett, Ramir, and Gabe? Those are your top 3?
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say it's defined. I'd say right now that top 4 right now is looking Gabe, Ramir, Emmett, and Dante really competing for that 1, 2, and 3. I wouldn't say that's been solidified yet. I wouldn't say that, but I think we're kind of getting to that point. As we get through scrimmages and stuff like that, but it's getting there, and they're practicing that way. The key is keeping them together and keeping them competitive. They for sure are competing, but also staying together.
To McCaffrey for a second, the 2 seasons that you worked with him were the 2 seasons that he dealt with his injuries. What did you learn from those experiences working with him that you adapted to working with Gabe and Ramir?
So the thing that Christian taught me was the level of focus on basic fundamentals. I was very kind of nervous when I first started to work with him because he's the best in the world, and it's almost like, how do I teach this guy? What am I going to teach this guy? And really what we focused on was hand placement, aiming points, eyes, all those things. So that's from a coaching standpoint. That's what we do with our guys. And then what I learned from him is how elite he takes care of his body, right? So he's making sure he's staying hydrated, making sure he's eating properly, making sure, almost to the point where, it is the most important thing into his career is his body. And I think that's the benefit that I got to learn from him to apply to Gabe and Ramir. That's the reality. And even Emmett, right, even focused on getting him from a 187-pound back to a 205-pound back, right? And so that's a daily thing that Coach Rule, Kristen, they're doing a great job of, and Coach Campbell is the nutrition part of things. And I got a chance to learn that from and see Christian do that. So they're getting that from me right now.
Someone like Dante, what are the keys you want to drill in him mentally as someone who is like the man in high school, and you've got to build yourself up in that competition a little bit, where maybe you were the 4th or 5th guy entering a camp, but you have to work for it to get back into that top area.
Yeah. So what are you saying? What do I do to have to kind of motivate him? You're saying?
Mental part of like a guy who is the man, and he's got to go fight for it now.
That's right. I think that he's doing it himself. I think if you guys watch our practice, he runs the ball with a certain demeanor, and I think everyone gets excited about it, right, when he runs that with physicality. So I think he fuels himself off that. What I have to do now is manage, hey, you're not a battering ram. You have to make guys miss in space. You know what I mean? So that's been his focus. At the second level, once I get through inside in between the tackles, where my eyes got to be. What do I have to do here? Versus, hey, I'm never going to take that ball out of you. I want that ball. I want you to run that ball like that. But you need to, in this conference, you need to be able to make a move at the second level, make guys miss. That's the difference, I think. Last year, we make a couple more guys miss in open space. We can have touchdowns versus, field goals. All right? So that's our key, is getting it to the second level. And that's where he's at. He's learning. But he gets motivated by running the football. That kid loves to run the ball. That's his motivation. I hope I answered that right.
Yeah. Emmett's always had confidence in himself, but do you see
Yeah, he is a completely different player from last year. Definitely. He is a guy that, went from I had to teach to stop looking at the football, getting a handoff, to the point where now he is in his brain, he's preparing himself to be the best. He's preparing himself. His preparation and his maturity over the last year has been phenomenal. It's night and day. He's a completely different kid than he was last spring.
Yeah, how's Makai Nelson look getting here? You obviously wanted him. What do you like about him?
That's right. I've recruited Makai for quite a few years, and very instinctive player. Came in obviously this summer, so he has a lot of information to process in a short period of time. But what he's shown us as a staff right now is there's two things: he loves football, and he's got really good instincts. And if you were able to be here for the spring practice, I'm sorry, the camp practice with the fans last weekend, I think you guys saw that. I think he's very instinctive in open space. I think he's picking up things a lot faster than I expected to, and he's picking up the playbook a lot quicker than some of the other guys did last spring. So, I'm not giving him any, there's still a lot of work to do with him, but he's really impressed us so far.
You mentioned some of the characteristics you're looking for the guys, to win that starting role or win playing time. I mean, how important is their pass catching ability in that, and how do you think the rooms come along as pass catchers?
I think the position itself has changed over the last 10 years about what a running back is. So we have to be able to catch the football out of the backfield. My first couple of years as a coach, we emphasized on ball security. To me now, that's an opportunity to get a check down and create an explosive run. That's a missed opportunity if we drop that ball. To me, a drop is just as serious as a fumble, and so we're focused on it this camp. And that's someone asked me that question earlier. What the difference is between this year and last year is we're working on details like that, right? Hand placement on routes. That's when you first get to a new team, you're not really coaching that with running backs, right? But that's where we're at now as a group. We've kind of excelled the standard. Now we're working on the next phase, the second level, route running. And it's imperative because you can't play at this level and just be a one-dimensional player.
Coach, what did you see from Makai Nelson? You kind of took a gamble on him coming out of high school. What did you see that other programs didn't?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I don't want to be arrogant when I say this, but I think from our experiences, Coach Rule, getting a chance to be his recruiting coordinator. I was at Temple, and we've learned how to evaluate as a staff. And I think evaluation is really important. And the process of evaluation, not just being able to, recruit, right? Just because a guy is not on a website doesn't mean he's not a great player. So the process of evaluation takes time, just like coaching. I think so that's what we are as a staff. We want to be really good evaluators, and so we're very confident we did the proper work on Makai. It wasn't a situation where we took a gamble. We watched him live. We had him in camp. We got him here on our campus. Got to be around him. So pretty certain. We were pretty sure on that decision. So got a chance to see him firsthand before we took him.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, guys.